You know, the Nashua Area Federated Republican Women is an organization that's all about supporting and promoting, obviously, Republican women. And so often we, you know, the Republican women really kind of take it pretty hard from the Democrats, from those progressives, from the media. And it's really encouraging for us in New Hampshire to have a leader like Senator Kely Ayotte in our state. And those of us right here from our hometown, from Nashua, New Hampshire. Kely was the first woman appointed Attorney General in the great state of New Hampshire. She's a long, successful, she has a long, successful career as an Attorney General. She's also been a lead voice on the most important issues of the day in Washington, including holding the Senate accountable for not passing a budget in how many days now, Senator? Has it been over?
It's over 1,100
over
days.
1,100 days.
Or 3 years.
Since they passed the budget. And she's been the lead voice and all that. And as we all know, she's now, her name is frequently mentioned when people think about who our nominee might choose as his vice presidential running mate as well. So it is an honor. And above all, you know, this is something I have to tell you personally that I find very, that I really admire about our senator is, above all of that, she's a mother, she is a wife. Her commitment to family and her community is unwavering, and I think that it is that core principle, that core value that makes her such a strong senator. Linda Twombly, the president of our group, asked me to make sure that when I introduced you, that I let you know that you are where God wants you to be right now. And we are. So it is my great privilege to introduce to you the senator of the great state of New Hampshire, Kely Ayotte.
So wonderful to be here with all of you this morning. And first, let me say to Janine, you really made it when they say you're the worst legislator. I think I've had a few folks say that about me as well. That means you're really getting to them. So keep up the good work. And Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for everything you've done and your leadership, and you really are an inspiration. You're also, of course, the mother of 5, right? And doing everything, running for office and being engaged in every activity in Nashua we can imagine. So thank you so much, and I appreciate your friendship very much. And Linda, you know, Linda Twombly, who's not here today, just a great friend. We all know Linda, and so I really hope that we pray for Linda's recovery today, because she's just been so good to me, good to my family, and I know that everyone in this room can say the same things about Linda, because she's someone who brightens up the room. She really needs our prayers right now, and she's a very strong person, so I know she'll come through it, but I know she'll come through it faster if we all pray for her and her recovery. So I wish you were here with us today, and it's not quite the same to not have her. But I'm honored to be here in Nashua, in particular. I only live over there. And I was a little bit late today because I've got kids' last day of my daughter's first grade last day of school, and a whole host of things that I had to get done in the morning to get the kids off for school and drop them off. So nothing else would keep me from being here on time other than my kids. So. But Nashua, of course, I was born here. I grew up here. And this city is so important, all of you in this room, to Republican politics in our state, to what happened in our state in 2010, and what I hope is going to happen in our state in 2012. You know, I know that I wouldn't be a U.S. Senator if it weren't for Nashua, because Nashua came in very strong for me in the primary and also in the general election. So I want to thank so many of you who helped me, and I'm very grateful for all of your support, and I'm also just very grateful for this city and how engaged all of you are in making sure that we turn around our country and our state. Because as we look toward, first let me reflect a little bit about what we did in 2010. Obviously, I got elected to the United States Senate. I could not have done it without Nashua. Congressman Batts, who's here today, who is a great friend, he carried Nashua in 2010, And we absolutely need to carry Nashua for Charlie in 2012. We cannot let Annie Custer carry Nashua. It is so, so important that all the work that you do, you really get out for Charlie. He's been a great friend to me. He's been a great fighter for this country and our state, and I know that I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that both he and Frank are back in Congress, because we cannot go backwards. I'd like to see us Republicans take the United States Senate, but we also need to keep the House in strong Republican hands to do what needs to be done to save our country. And in addition, if you look at what we did in Nashua in 2010, amazing. District 5 Councilor, you got Sandra Ziem elected to the Hillsborough County Commissioner, you've got Nashua's Dennis Hogan as the Hillsborough County Attorney, and we can go on and on with the 2 state senators, phenomenal, the state reps. So Nashua was a wonderful year in 2010 for Republicans, and we needed to carry that enthusiasm from 2010 into 2012, because I don't need to tell you how important this upcoming election is for our country. There's so much at stake right now for our country. As I look at it from Washington, I can tell you it's great frustration to me that it's been 3 years that we have not had a budget for our country. Can you imagine? It's ridiculous. And the reason we haven't had a budget for our country is not because of Charlie or Frank. They passed a budget in the House. They passed a budget that put us on a more fiscally responsible path, that takes us from a path that goes like this to one that goes like this. And so they've been doing their hard work. Over in the Senate Budget Committee hasn't done anything. I serve on the Senate Budget Committee, and basically Harry Reid has said it would be foolish to pass a budget, and has told the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, don't do your work, even though you're required to do it by law. And so when I look at 2012, I think to myself, that energy that we had in 2010 is so critical across the country, not just here in New Hampshire, that we fire Harry Reid so that we'll do a budget. I can tell you right now, because I've already co-sponsored a bill that says if we don't do a budget, we shouldn't get paid. That's how strongly I feel about it. The other thing that we absolutely have to do, you all know, you're committed to doing this, we need presidential leadership to take on the problems that face our country. And you want to talk about a lack of leadership in Washington, President Obama did have a budget he proposed. That budget, if we had passed it, would have taken us from almost $16 trillion in debt today to over $25 trillion in debt in 10 years. So continuing us on a trajectory like this, we all see what's happening in Europe, and basically President Obama's budget was the budget that brings us to Greece. And that's why it couldn't even get one vote in the House, couldn't even get one vote in the Senate, not even a, think about it, President of the United States, not even one member of his own party would support his budget. That's just shocking when you think about it, in terms of the lack of leadership on the most fundamental issue, the fiscal strength of our country. And that's why presidential leadership and making sure that we get out there, do whatever we can to get Mitt Romney elected President of the United States. Because if we can have Governor Romney as President of the United States, a majority in the United States Senate, Charlie and Frank still in Congress and a majority in the House, we will pass a budget. We will pass laws that cut spending. I would like to see us bring forth a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution and put it out to all of you so that we can put permanent structural reforms in place to make sure that not just now, it's not just about when Kely Ayotte serves in the U.S. Senate or when Charlie Bass serves in Congress, but putting in the right structure so that we have to have fiscal responsibility going forward, which is what happens at the state level, which is what happens at the family level, and here we are in Washington. It's like, let's just print some more money. And that's what motivates me every single day when I get up, because it can be quite frustrating being in Washington, as you can imagine. But I have a sense of purpose because I know that nothing less than the future of our country is in the balance right now. And nothing less than the future, not just what motivates me most is Kate and Jake, but also all of us in the room. I mean, it's hitting us now. Look what's happening in Europe. That's coming here, and it's not too far off. And those who want to bury their heads in the sand and pretend that we can continue on the path that we are on, continue to support more spending and more debt and more borrowing, they're going to be on the wrong side of history, and I think we all know it in this room. And that's why it's so important that we get this right. It's also important that we continue what has happened at the state level. We need to make sure that this time we have a Republican in the State House serving as governor of our state. And I know we have two great candidates. I see Kevin Smith here today who's running for governor, and I see Betty LaMontagne representing her husband Ovid here today. And I know that our candidates, they're going to stick to what's right for our state and our country. Fiscal responsibility, making sure that we have an economic climate that people want to come and do business here in New Hampshire. And we can continue that and make it even better in New Hampshire with a Republican governor. And so this, to me, a Republican governor, Mitt Romney and president, nothing can stop us to get our country on the right track. And as discouraging as it can seem sometimes with what's happening in Washington, we all know the greatness of the American people, don't we? We see it every day in everyday stories of wonderful accomplishments of individual Americans. And we can translate that greatness to making sure that we get our country back on the right track. Because truly, there's never been a challenge that this country hasn't faced, that we haven't met and been better for at the end of the day. But we've got to get back to what has made us great. What made America great? Our Constitution, fiscal responsibility, work ethic, independence, individual responsibility, faith, values. That's what's made America great. And getting back to those things on the big picture level is what is going to make sure that we can bring back America's greatness and that our best days lie ahead. And I know that everyone in this room is committed to that. And what you do every single day in terms of getting people out to the polls, making those phone calls, that energy is going to make the difference. And so I just urge you again, you probably heard me say it, but I'm going to continue to say it, but please know that I'll be rolling up my sleeves with you because I'm just so worried about where we are right now, just like all of you, so worried. I see some great young women here, and it's wonderful to see them, and they're going to take up the future of this country, and we owe it to them that we pass on a future that's bright with the same opportunities and hopefully better opportunities than we've all had. And the choice is ours. We can continue to commit generational theft, or we can make the decisions now that need to be made for our country. When I think about the grassroots effort, you all know, I hope you know, when you make those phone calls, when you get out door to door, how much it makes a difference. I know I wouldn't be in the U.S. Senate if so many of you had gone out there, put the signs up, made the phone calls. So sometimes it can feel like a slog, but please know how much it makes a difference. And just one more phone call on our side could be the difference between victory, or it could be the difference between 4 more years for Barack Obama. Because even though 4 electoral votes are only at stake in New Hampshire, I'm telling you, this election is going to be so close. Those 4 electoral votes, if we can bring it for Mitt Romney and win up and down the ticket, are going to make the difference to making sure that we don't have to have 4 more years of a president who has just been lacking leadership, and the things that he has led on, of course, have been taking us absolutely in the wrong direction toward Europe and Greece, as opposed to who we are, America. So when I think about grassroots, it brings one woman to mind who we are honoring here today, and someone who has been incredibly, incredibly effective at the grassroots level, and that is Phyllis Woods, because Phyllis was elected to represent us to the Republican National Committee as committee woman because she was so effective. And not someone that goes out and takes the headlines or is looking for the, you know, the top, it's about me. She's been just very quiet and effective. When I think about the door-to-door, the grassroots, the organizing people, Phyllis Woods has really been someone who I admire, and there's no substitute for just good old-fashioned hard work, dedication, caring, and Phyllis has just been phenomenal. So I'm just so honored that you're the woman being honored here today, and for everything that you've done for our state. And I'm also thrilled that you're going to run again, and that you're going to run for the Senate, and I'm really thrilled for you. You know, we see Phyllis in Republican politics, and she's at every event. I mean, I know I ran, and I see her everywhere. But I was astounded when I looked at her resume, because I had no idea of all the community work that she's done in the nonprofit community. She has worked at the Dover Friendly Soup Kitchen, the Dover Conservation Commission, the Dover Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, the St. Joseph's Altar and Rosary Society, Wentworth Douglas Hospital, and the American Cancer Society. So she truly is a role model for every person who strives to give back to their community. And again, Phyllis, I'm looking forward to you having a great victory in November as well. And thank you for everything you've done to preserve our First in the Nation primary. We are so blessed in New Hampshire to have the First in the Nation primary and to have the experiences that we have to make a difference in picking our next president. And Phyllis, you fought so hard to preserve that, and I thank you for everything that you did and for the recognition that you're going to get today. I'm thrilled to be here when you receive that award. So congratulations.